Hey, welcome back. This is Thorn in the Flesh. I'm Pastor Deborah, founder of New Kingdom Life Ministries, working in collaboration with Pastor Charles Hill and Hang On in Their Ministries. And we're doing faith-based recovery. So we are working on step 10 this week. And it says that we continue to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Here's a place where we can call maintenance. From this position, we can face many of our situations that we were powerless to. We have faced them. We have looked them dead in the eyes, and now we understand that those things we were powerless to, we have come a long way. So now we're learning how to have maintenance, to keep what we have gained. We've learned to continually seek God and to lean on Him. We're learning more about ourselves and finding our serenity, our peace. And when you find peace, you hold it, you keep it. We're also assessing our liabilities, what our addictive behavior has cost us, and all the bridges that we burnt along the way, making amends where we could, and recognizing our loss and the price that we paid. So now it's clear that we need to clean up all the rest of the little debris that's left over from our addictive behaviors and focus on working the 12 steps as we recover all that we lost along the way. So now we're starting to identify that we are so much more than what our addiction had us thinking about ourselves. We're now accepting that we have a purpose and we're learning to do the will of God. Isn't that wonderful? This is growth. So we're growing spiritually and we want to continue on this journey of our spiritual growth and continue to work the 12 steps for our recovery, so we can recover all the broken places in our life. So now let's think about this as a spiritual exercise. The more we're consistent, the better our results will be. We're learning to be humble and to deflate pride in our life. Pride comes before a fall. So we want to stay humble under God's hand so He can work and continue to mold us. The rewards may seem like it's delayed. You might not see the rewards so quickly, but guess what? The rewards is our new foundation and our strength. So we'll continue to stay sober, and we'll know that we can do this no matter what we face, because now we have a solid foundation. It's not just all emotion. We know now that we have the Lord Jesus, who is our higher power, that we can tap into, that we can pray to, that will keep us. So now, no matter what life brings us, we know that we can stand because we're not doing this on our own. So as we continue to search out our life, we'll learn how to identify some of our old behavior. You know, those old stinking thinking, the old out of control attitudes and behaviors and emotions. See, all of these things will start to come to throw us off balance. But when we face our defeated areas quickly, those old mindsets, those old behaviors, the things that we used to do, see, we can change it quickly. When we see these things, when we see our mind going back to how we used to think, when we see our actions changing, then we can correct this quickly. But usually there's different situations that come about, and they'll pull you into this place where they're called triggers. See, we have to identify triggers. See, triggers are usually things that make you feel some type of way. Our emotions start to rouse up to the way that we used to feel. Before we know it, we'll start to act the same way that we used to act. We'll start to think the same way that we used to think, and we'll be ready to go back and do the same things that we used to do. So we have to understand triggers. See, when you think of triggers, we have to look at, well, what happened? What made you fearful? What happened today that put you on edge, that made you angry, that made you sad, or made you feel anxious? Sometimes it's people, places, and things. We have to pay attention to this because they have different effects on us. And those old ways will start to creep in. See, think about it. Is it payday? Did you see an old acquaintance? Did you see someone that you used to use with? Whatever your drug of choice was. Are you in an old, familiar place? What happened? See, those things will start to make you feel all of those old emotions. They're called triggers. Triggers are anything that brings us back to old thoughts, feelings, and memories of our using state. And they ignite cravings in us. Whatever the substance was, it doesn't matter. Remember, we can be addicted to anything. Food, sex, gambling, drugs, alcohol, pornography, it does not matter. Whatever you were doing and you started to feel those old feelings, pay attention to them. Triggers bring on cravings. And most of those things can be very intense. So we have to be mindful of them. But just remember, don't pick up. Just don't pick up. Being around certain people, around certain places, and around old familiar things associated with our drug of choice or our drug use days, they can bring on those intense feelings. So don't think that you can just handle going any old where, any place, dealing with those same old people, and you're going to stay sober. No, you have to change people, places, and things. You have to put yourself in new situations, because if you don't, those old situations, you're going to do the same things that you used to do. So be mindful of this and identify your triggers, okay? Because sometimes you might just have a using dream, and that can be a trigger for you, and then your whole day is thrown off. But the way to deal with that is to talk about it. You have to face it. You have to talk about it. You can write about it. You can just go to a meeting, but you have to be honest with yourself. That's the key, is to be honest with yourself, with your own self. Be true. Honesty about what it is that you wanted to do when you had that dream. Did you really think that you were doing it? Were you excited? Did you get angry? Or did it just make you really want to go and use? So be honest with yourself. Take a different approach. Don't just go and give in to those emotions. Do something different. Talk to someone. Share it. Write it. Do whatever you need to do. But this step right here is to remind us that we are human, okay? And we don't always get it right. So understand that. None of us is perfect, and you don't have to be perfect in your recovery. Understand, some people can use and do some things with no problem. But guess what? If you have an addictive personality, you cannot do that. It does not work in your favor. Okay? It takes you right back to the road that we just left. You already know what that cost you. You know what that looked like. You know what that felt like. And if you want to go back there, guess what? You will. But if you want something different, you will do what is necessary to stay the course. Okay? And when you're wrong, just admit that I was wrong. I shouldn't have acted like that. I shouldn't have said that to that girl. I shouldn't have told him these things. But I did. So now I have to face up to it. This is about learning how to keep yourself in a place of honesty for you. So you don't start holding on to old resentments. You don't start that old stinking thinking, and you have embraced your change. So this will keep our emotions and our pride down. So don't downplay when you're feeling some kind of way, or even if you know that you've done something wrong. Don't downplay it and try and put it on somebody else. Look at the part you played. What could I have done different? Let's look at your own self. Let's be real. So if you think that you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. 1 Corinthians 10 and 12. See, that means don't get in a position where you think, oh, I got this now. I got 90 days clean. I haven't did anything, and I'm okay. I can go back over here and see my old friends. I could go kick it back over here where I used to sit there, and we used to get blown away. I can go back there. No, you cannot, because, see, it's going to cost you. And if you're not willing to pay, they say, don't play. Okay, let's keep this real. Let's keep this honest. And let's keep this true. Okay? So don't get too comfortable and don't get too cocky, thinking that you have arrived. None of us have arrived. We're all a work in progress. Your recovery is a progress. Okay? Think of all the years that it took for you to mess up. So now you got a few months, a couple of weeks, a year. So now you think, oh, I got this and I'm good. No. This is a continual work in progress. We all are a continual work in progress. We must remain humble. You must understand what the cost is. If you start going back to those old people doing the same old thing, going to those old places, it's going to cost you. You're already paying the price. You've paid a price. So now, embrace your change. Isn't your life getting better? Don't you feel better? Don't you know that you can have so much more? So just keep striving to go forward. Don't get stuck. Go forward. Trust God. So continue to take your personal inventory. When you're wrong, just admit it. This step is really the summary of step 4 through 9. We take our inventories of our life, we admit what we found, and we're willing to let God change us. We're humbly asking Him. We're humbly asking God to remove our shortcomings. We're making notes, and we know who we need to make an amends to, and we're doing it. So I have a prayer for you for step 10. And this prayer says that I pray that I may continue to grow in understanding and effectiveness, to take daily spot checks of my inventory, to correct my mistakes when I make them, and to take responsibility for my own actions, to be aware of negative and self-defeating attitudes and behaviors, to keep love and tolerance for others as my code, and to continue daily to pray and to serve you, Lord. Help me. Just ask Him. He'll do it for you. Amen. So I just want to say, remember, your recovery is for you. Recovery takes work, but recovery is doable, and you can do this. There's many pathways to recovery. You can do this one step at a time, one day at a time. Be patient with yourself. It took a minute to get here. This is Thorn in the Flesh, and I'm Pastor Deborah, and I'll see you next week. God bless.
Amen.